Hey everybody, here's this Agile thing. My name's Matt Beam.
I'm Mike Markey.
And I'm John
And,
Jorgensen. Oh,
and
sorry.
with us today is a guest, John Jorgensen.
Hey, I'm John Jorgensen.
Hey John, welcome. You're here to talk about a thing called the Agile Coaches Alliance. Did I get that right?
You did get it right.
Interesting.
Yes.
And it's new, I guess.
Yeah. I only discovered it something like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it really caught my interest because they're doing something that I would call unprecedented and maybe even controversial.
We love controversy here.
Yeah. Well, then
And,
I
and
came
we
to the
don't
right
like
place.
precedent. So this
No.
sounds like
This
a
is
good
right in
place.
our wheelhouse.
Yeah. All fortuitous.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, what is this thing? What is this alliance of coaches that you have found?
Yeah. So it's these coaches or people that were coaches certified by the Scrum Alliance. That would mean that either they are a certified team coach or a certified executive coach, which is something called a guide level, meaning that they've gone through many different trainings and certifications, which certifications verify their real world experience and expertise in helping teams and possibly entire organizations become stronger in agility. And so these CTCs, which I am one, and CECs, basically banded together very recently inside of this container that we're calling the Agile Coaches Alliance. And as of last week, there are 85 of us. There could be more. And what we're doing is we're creating an accreditation for teams or enterprises that actually they hire a coach, they have conversations with the coach for 25 hours or greater, and the coach, observing their interactions, gives eyewitness accounts that they are actually practicing Agile.
So a lot of behavioral sort of questions. Tell me about a time when this happened and what you did, that kind of a thing.
Well, they would actually be looking for that firsthand, and then the accreditation is essentially the testament that they did see something that resembles Agile or agility in the real world.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys aren't competing with the Scrum Alliance. You guys are.
No.
It's all coaches who were accredited by the Scrum Alliance to be coaches. But what you guys are doing is different. What you guys are doing is going in and accrediting organizations.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the rub. And I mean, it's just my point of view, but there's in other aspects of life, there's, what we would call book knowledge or learn knowledge through conversations, possibly reading, and building, onion layers, stacking on top of knowledge, more knowledge. Uh, it certainly amounts to something, but whether that something dwells inside of your head or outside of your head is the key distinction in my point of view. And so, you know, um, having having lots of training is good. Even demonstrating some level of knowledge through a multiple choice examination is good. I don't diminish that in any way. But I'm saying that it's fundamentally different and distinct from actually practicing something that achieves ultimately results,
Mhm.
unprecedented results, things that make customers happy, things that make an ongoing concern actually keep on going. And I believe that there is a strong appetite and a desire for some kind of verification, some kind of validation outside of an individual's mind and more out here with the rest of us in the world that spurs people on, inspires them, possibly even attracts customers or, more importantly, maybe uh, employees that work in a very distinct and different way from the rest of the world.
Okay, so that was my next question. So a company that is doing something agile could approach the Agile Coaches Alliance and say, could you please accredit or certify us as doing something that is not just book smart, but it actually is implemented and is working in a way that, you know, it's producing business results. It's actually moving the needle as opposed to just doing a bunch of agile stuff and claiming the title. And the benefit to that is that that organization can be known, can be distinguished, and can have an advantage in say, attracting people who want to work at a place that where actually agile is actually being done in some real way. Is that about right?
Yeah, you nailed it right on the head. And I'm an agile practitioner. I didn't wake up one morning and then just found like this certificate under my pillow left by whatever fairies deliver those certificates.
Certificate fairies.
Yeah,
There's a Scrum fairy.
No. There is a Scrum fairy. I heard
it's very expensive.
Someone. Yeah, but separate from that, like I took jobs. I turned down jobs that were traditional project management, which is not a bad thing in the world. I don't diminish that at all. It's how I paid my bills and completed all kinds of projects. But I made some hard choices during my career where, you can take a job offer from a place that's saying that they're doing Agile or that they're going to do Agile, or the one that's saying what's Agile. And when I take the job offer with the place that says we're going to do Agile or we're doing Agile, and then I find out that the words mean completely different things to them and to me, that's a little bit more than just an inconvenience. Yeah, that has profound impacts on my life.
So there's a definite benefit to the coach to say, hey, this is an organization that is looking for coaching, and they are demonstrably an agile organization. So so getting a coach like yourself to say, hey, I would be willing to work with you is easier. But there's a lot of organizations out there that have not gone down this path yet, and so there's a couple questions that I'm stacking up on myself, and I'm sorry. Let's go to this. What kinds of certifications are you offering through the Agile Coach Alliance?
So the ones that are on offer as of this moment that I'm aware of are, there's a team level accreditation, and there is an organization level accreditation. And I believe that there's conversation at least about an individual level organization, but that's, I don't know. I don't believe that accreditation has been given publicly. And
to say that an individual has achieved agility through the practice, is that?
I guess.
That one I would be a little worried about stepping on the Scrum Alliance's toes, because that's what the Scrum practitioner is supposed to be, isn't it? Isn't the Scrum practitioner?
Well, I'm not clear about that. I don't think that the Scrum Alliance is actually at this point in time willing to make any kind of statements about the practice of what we teach and coach for. And please don't get me wrong. I see a particular irony and missing when an entity they're in the business of making statements or documents for the world, but when you come to them, they won't make anything ad hoc or sign anything that would have value to you. And here's a case in point. It may be a useful metaphor, or it may not be. But when I went to Japan, I lived in Japan for 17 years, and
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get a Japanese driver's license, especially if you don't have a physical driver's license with you when you go to their equivalent of the DMV. Now, unfortunately, just before I left for Japan, I went to a Denny's and they give you like a free dessert if you show them, that it's actually your birthday.
Oh no.
And the waitress did not return my driver's
No.
license. And yeah, so that becomes
And you
very
thought, no big deal. I've got a passport. This will get me to Japan. That's
17
fine.
years of
Triple
walking in
A.
Japan.
AAA will give you like for $20, you can get actually it's a temporary international driver's license. It's only good for 3 months. So many years later, of course, I had my driver's license reissued, but that's the thing. A reissued driver's license is not the same as the original driver's license that was issued the day that you got it. And so what this means is they said, okay, there's a lot of people flying over to the United States from Japan and just getting their driver's license because it's easier there and then trying to flip it into a Japanese driver's license. We need to know that you were driving for 3 months in the United States before you came back to Japan and then tried to make the conversion. Okay, fine. So I go to the DMV in the United States and I say, okay, can I please have my record? And the record shows I've had no tickets or, just a clean driving record for all these years. And then it says, like the date that it was issued, etc. And I said, like, I need you to write a statement that, like, I actually had an active driver's license from the date that it was first issued to the time that I left for Japan. And they said, no, Mr. Jorgensen, we
I
won't
work at the
sign
DMV.
anything. Nothing.
How do we, you possessed it, but anyone can have a license, but do they use the license? Have you used
Right, don't know that. Yeah. So there's right. That's just their policy. They're not going to attest to anything that isn't either printed on the license or the dot matrix printer, impact printer that they issue.
How would they know, really? I mean,
But
makes sense.
the replacement license does say replacement on it.
It does say replacement on it. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like there needs to be, to the satisfaction of the Japanese national entity that governs driver's license, they need to know that, like, okay, he's had the license for this many months before he got on a plane to go to Japan. And like, that's a snafu I never broke out of. I had to go through the entire rigmarole of somebody who never had a license in Japan. But my point is that when you have very large entities that have huge vested interests in not getting, liable for something, they become very reticent to make statements of fact about things that, maybe there could be controversy around. So I'm saying that it really takes something for an individual coach to say, I went to this organization, I saw this group of people, this group of people doing things that, in my expert opinion, resembles agility more than not. And so it's just my belief that has value to people like myself, and not necessarily Agile coaches, by the way. Let's say that you're a programmer. Let's say that you're a tester.
Right.
Let's say that you really enjoy making a difference for your users through agility. Well, then you don't necessarily just want to take it on the word of one person who sees that it would be more attractive to you to get you in the organization by saying, oh, we're agile. We're so agile. We can turn somersaults around here.
I would think it would be less useful because coaches are used to going to places that's why our job exists. We go to places that aren't agile and try to bring the level of agility up. But if you just want to get work done in a way that is pleasant and meaningful, Mm-hmm. So that metaphor sort of raises the question. So there's a standard driver's test. All the drivers go through it, and so it's not a shouldn't be mysterious why you got the license or not. Is there a similar sort of standard assessment for organizations that y'all have settled on?
Wow, that is a super question.
That's all we do
I
here.
don't have a clear answer for you at this point in time, but I can agree with you if you're of the opinion that it would be good to have some kind of agreed upon what do the words mean, and like how I would know if I say that it walks like a duck and talks like a duck. So exactly what way do ducks talk? Exactly what way do ducks walk?
Yes.
Yeah. And is your duck the same as my duck, or is it the same as Matt's duck? And do we all agree that we're looking at a duck? And then to take that to another level, though, how many organizations have we seen where there are pockets of agility, where there are pieces within the organization which are functioning in a purely agile model and doing wonderful at it, and there's still vestiges of other ways of working also in that organization, and they're working
Yes.
too. Does that?
Right. Yes, you've nailed the point. The whole point to me is that, like, okay, some organizations actually are larger than one agile team. And so, yeah, like I'd like to know it 10 years ago, let's name a big organization. If PayPal had some number of individuals 10 years ago that were actually practicing agility, is that going to be relevant? I'm sorry. Is that going to be relevant to the job that I'm about to be hired for
Today?
today? Right.
Oh,
I have no way of knowing unless
10 years
there's
is a long
somebody saying
time.
this particular department, in this particular department, this particular team, at this particular point in time, I observed firsthand that they were doing something that resembles what I've been calling agility all along. I'd really love to have that disinterested third party saying that for me.
So in that model, though, you might get multiple team certifications from the ACA. Are you ACA, Agile Coach Alliance? Is that
I
what
don't
you?
know if they're using that three-letter
Oh, all
acronym,
right.
but
So from the Agile Coach Alliance,
yeah.
I'll,
Oh yeah, don't confuse us with others. There could be Agile Coach Alliances. This one in particular, yeah,
oh,
yeah,
oh, so there is a coaches as well. Okay, yeah, you're right.
yeah,
I take it back.
yeah.
Rewind that whole thing. So we're talking about agilecoachesalliance.org, not to be confused with other flavors.
Interesting.
Well, wait a minute. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. I'm scrolling
Yeah,
down just to look at the badges, and those are
yeah,
badges I
because
recognize.
yeah. So yeah, there's a few badges there. It's a few more than
Yeah,
you discussed, right? There's
right.
there's the Agile organization, the Scrum
Yes.
team,
Hmm.
the Agile leader. That's an interesting one. The
Yeah,
Scrum Master, the product owner, the Agile developer. So you're talking about doing individual accreditations of people who are practicing. They're
mhm,
practitioners. Maybe they didn't get formal training. They don't have a CSM. They don't have a CSPO, whatever, or
right.
even a certified Scrum developer.
Yeah.
But you
Or
can,
even if they
based on
did.
your experience and your observation of what they are, you could declare them to be an Agile
Yeah.
developer.
As
Okay.
lived. That's right.
Okay. And does this certification cost anything? Like, does do they pay a certification fee to have it formalized, or is it a vanity plate? What form
Hmm.
does it take?
Wow. I'm not going to speculate. Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, I don't see price tags yet. And one thing that is true as of this moment is I don't pay, and I don't think any other of the coaches pay money to this alliance.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there has not been, in my experience, and currently is not, money changing hands between coaches and the alliance.
Okay.
Yeah,
But these certifications come purely from the 85 current
accreditors. That's
coaches.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Did
what did you have to go through to get involved with this?
Well, so what happened for me was I was a CTC. I've been one of the first, maybe first five, possibly seven CTCs, which is an abbreviation for Certified Team Coach, with Scrum Alliance since I don't know, maybe it's 2016, somewhere around there. And and to be that, there's a documented vetting process, and there are annual renewal fees, which I pay to Scrum Alliance. And being a CTC in good standing with the Scrum Alliance is what I guess you would say qualifies me to be a candidate to be accepted into the Agile Coaches Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
And just incidentally, in my case, I came to know about the Agile Coaches Alliance from an email thread on a non-public mailing list amongst the guide levels of Scrum Alliance.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they kind of flashed a badge and said, "Hey, come
Yeah.
here."
Yeah, and I had some. Yeah, it is like that. It's not open to everybody in the world who calls themselves an agile coach. But like I had questions. I have certain things. I have values. Like I don't just associate with anything or anyone that has the word agile in it. And so, yeah, I was curious. Like, what does this cost the agile coaches? And do I have to go before a committee? For some kind of an approval that may or may not ever come? Could I be deferred for a year or indefinitely as I'm applying to be one of these agile coaches?
Do
And
I want to be a part of any club that would have me as a member?
there you go.
Yeah.
And yeah, Groucho Marx would have nothing to do with a club that would admit him. But yeah, and so I received replies that satisfied me, and so then I said, "Admit me immediately, please," and I was admitted.
Okay. So right now, all 85 members are CSTs or CEC, so they're all Scrum Alliance certified.
That's
But
correct. Well,
it's a
wait,
well-known
so
fact.
one exception.
Okay.
There is a particular coach whom I know very well, who he, what do you call it?
I wonder if we know him too.
He
I
resigned.
think we may know him.
Yeah, he resigned his CTC, his certified team coaching certification, and he was public about it on LinkedIn at the very least, and so if you see on the website for Agile Coaches Alliance, it's clear that he does not have that CTC certification. He is the only exception that I'm aware of, and I would say he's the only likely one to retain his membership with Agile Coaches Alliance.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting data point. But so what I'm thinking here, though, is there's more players in the game now than the Scrum Alliance, right? There's Scrum.org, there's IC Agile, there's it's like you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a certification body right now.
Yeah.
And some of them are churning out people with a certain pedigree of coaching capability.
Mm-hmm.
Would they be able to come to the table and say, could we be a part of your game?
I love
is
the way
this
your mind thinks. Yeah, I can't speak on behalf of all these other coaches, but I am hopeful that could happen. I do believe that there are many other coaches beyond the guide levels of Scrum Alliance who would know what agility looks like if they were directly observing it. And yeah, they, to this date, I'm not aware of anyone from them saying, will you broaden the circles? I am guessing that as this podcast goes live, there will be plenty of Me Too's and, oh yeah, this sounds great. And so,
yeah, you can expect a crush of emails, and just the vastness of the audience is going to really overwhelm you.
Maybe I don't know, a handful or two handfuls, perhaps.
Both people are going to contact you directly who listen.
Right, and that would be a great problem to have, in my opinion, because I believe that we are inherently respectful of other Agile practitioners of excellence.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about what organizations get out of it through getting this certification. They're able to demonstrate that they are not just using the language; they're doing the things, and they are providing the kind of place where people would want to work. Mm-hmm. As a coach who might think about joining the Agile Coaches Alliance, what's the benefit for the coach? What's the pitch to the coach? You may or may not have to pay to be a coach in there, but it sounds like what you can do as a member of the Agile Coaches Alliance is participate in the accreditation of organizations, teams within organizations, et cetera. Is it mostly the association with other people who are known good, competent actors? Is it like a?
If it was that altruistic, I'd probably have nothing to do with it. I'm just kidding. No, I think that actually in all great undertakings, there is a combination of civic virtue and personal interest.
Mhm.
And so I would say that in addition to the things that you mentioned, and by the way, it has been my firsthand experience that upon inclusion into this wonderful group, that everyone has been doing nothing but bending over backwards to help each other, which is a metaphor to say um, really cares about the inclusion of people who are out and aligned to achieve the same goals in life, which is help the world of work for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, along that vein, in the spirit of sustainability, um, I would say that for me, I'm imagining that this alliance attracts the interests of organizations that would like to would like to practice agility, have their future employees know that they practice agility, and are willing to make some modicum, some quantum of investment to pay an agile coach to come observe, possibly even coach for them, not just for one moment in time, but several moments in time, possibly ongoingly and continuously. And so, of course, then there's a pecuniary interest there.
It's a big word. That means money.
It does.
It
Does
does.
it? Money.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a scenario. You're an organization that would like to that values certification or values like you've got Microsoft certified engineers. You've got you make sure that everybody's got the little piece of paper that goes with their role and all this other stuff. And you want to move into agility with the same degree of seriousness. So you go to the Agile Coaches Alliance, you scroll through the page, you pick one of 85 people, and you say, hey, would you be willing to come and join my organization as a coach and upon leaving confer or not confer upon us one of these certifications?
I would say that it's unethical to make a contract wherein, before even observing something, you're making a promise
Mm-hmm.
for counter value to certify or attest to something. Um, because what are you going to do in the situation where you didn't actually observe what they wanted you to observe and attest to?
Yeah, that seems like a situation where the standardization or setting those standards up front so the organization can know you have to, let's just like throw some things out there. You have to have effective cross-functional teams. You have to have well-formed backlogs. You have to be able to ship working tested software, right?
Yeah.
You have to be
And that
able
would
to
have to
measure
be
the value.
transparent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, as an ethical coach, you would not make the agreement, well, yeah, upon my leaving, you get it, right? You would have to say, I would be willing to do the assessment and see if you've achieved that. And
Right.
maybe you could even use the achievement of that as a transformation backlog item that signals acceptance criteria for leaving.
Yeah.
I think you have graduated.
Yes.
You have reached this sustainable agile state,
Yeah.
and I think you're in good shape. And I'd be willing to say, ka-ching, you're in there.
Yeah. And what if, and this is not the case that I'm aware of today, but what if there was something that was a preliminary step? So if there's a standard to excellence, you've got these behaviors and these artifacts, and they're just not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But they're making modifications to their organization, either in policy or structure or some other aspect. So it's clear that they have that intent. It's clear that they even know what is the predominant or prevailing definition of the term, let's say Scrum or the Agile Manifesto. Like, wouldn't that be worth attesting to and having the world recognizes, okay, great, they are on the field. They haven't taken much ground yet, but they are on the field, and I am sitting up in the stands observing them and giving you a report of what I observe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing maybe one of our listeners, our two listeners, is maybe screaming something about the capability maturity model or something like that as a pushback. But there's the concept. I can't remember who I heard it from, but there's the idea of fluency,
Yeah.
right?
Agile fluency model. It's a wonderful
Who
thing.
is that? I can't. Do you remember who that
Yeah.
is?
That's Diana Larson,
Okay.
and oh man, I'm gonna be so embarrassed if I can't say the name.
I didn't remember any of them.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
but
Diana
my
Larson.
point is this exists, and so maybe it sounds like something similar. The
Yeah.
same kind of model. Like it's not about checking a box. It's about saying, do you have the ability to handle this sort of way in a way that's effective? And here's what effectiveness means. Is that fair?
Yes. For
James,
me,
James Shore, by the way.
There you
is
go.
James
the
Shore,
other
thank you.
person.
He
Yeah.
is such a generous human being, and yet, James, if you're listening, thank you. I love you. And so for me, it is definitely in that spirit that like there are certain things that they being the organization or the team want to achieve in their fluency of practice. And if I can observe those, then I want to applaud them. I want to publicly recognize and acknowledge their achievement.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think you've nailed it, Matt.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, we're some number of minutes into it. We don't mention the number anymore because we edit this, and then Mike gets
And
upset
then it always
because it's
changes.
misleading.
Yeah.
I'm curious, is this as controversial as I was hoping it would be?
Well, it has the virtue of having never been tried. So I mean, there's definitely I can see where people might listen to this and say, "Ooh, I'd like to be a part of that." I'm still a little dubious of the initial state that you came in as a coach, deciding whether or not you were going to sign on with an organization based on whether or not they had already achieved a certification. Right? Is not our role as coaches to help bring people to this place? Not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I miscommunicated.
Oh, okay.
When I was describing like my earlier self, in a job interview, this is the John Jorgensen that has not coached a day in his life. This is the John Jorgensen that's gone through a couple days of training, has passed an exam, and has a certification, and just wants to do this. And organizations everywhere, not everywhere, a lot of organizations are saying, hey, we're already doing it. We could use your enthusiasm and your expertise. And then when you take the lid off and it's like, oh my gosh. Now, wherever you're a change, I think you both might agree with me. Wherever you are an advocate for change, you are also a source of irritation to the organization at large.
You better be.
Yeah, that's right. And so part of I think what I experienced was a rude awakening that's what's so. And so all of my dreams of like, we're just going to start, self-organizing and self-managing and it'll be glorious, was like, oh my gosh, John, you really need to tone it down, was the messaging that I got. And so I don't want to say that like there was misrepresentation given to me before the job offer and then the truth came out after it. It's not like that. There is subjectivity, of course, and people speak very aspirationally and want to put their best foot forward when speaking to a worthy job candidate.
Yeah, this makes sense to me.
Was what I was, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Just real quick, this makes sense to me because I've told this story a bunch of times. I did software like on the side. I wrote web pages and stuff, but it was like in my basement, right? My first experience in a software team, I got like unbelievably lucky. We're in Northern Illinois, and I happened to find like the one place that was doing XP in the middle of a cornfield in Northern Illinois. And I got there, and they'd been doing it for like 6 or 7 years, and it was like actual like test-driven development, pair programming, automated testing, a customer sitting with the development team. And like, I knew nothing about what this thing was, but I went in. It was my formative sort of it was a school. They paid me, but basically I got paid to go to school for 5.5 years, and then I left and I became sort of an independent contractor and moved around. I'm like, I'm going to go work in Agile because that's great. And I found out it's nothing like that in most places. So the importance of, and one of the things that happened is I would meet people who were working in these places they called themselves Agile, but they had never seen Agile done well from what I would say. Right. And so they would think they would describe it as, effective cross-functional teams and all of this stuff, but they'd never talked to a customer. They never deployed anything to production, right? There was no pivoting. There was none of that. And I just realized I am so fortunate to have sort of like gotten this foundation. So I can totally see why that would make a huge difference to the value to somebody who was trying to get into an actual legit Agile. Of course, what legit means, you have to nail that down with the assessment. But yeah, the value of that is really, it's pretty obvious to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have a question. it just clicked in my head.
No, you're taking all the words right out of my mouth, and I love it that it's communicating.
Yeah.
And at the top of the hour, I must leave.
Very good. Well, we are that's some number of minutes away. It's not a big number.
That means we've come to an end of this Agile thing.
Interesting.
Sorry.
And I've been Mike Markey.
I have also been not Mike Markey. I'm Matt Beam.
And I'm John Jorgensen.
Excellent.
He still
Thanks,
is.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Bye.